Welcome to another weekly Forex forecast, and we start as usual on the DXY on the weekly time frame, and we had the second bullish week in a row, but we did close a bit weak with this bigger wick. Here on the 4-hour time frame, we see price is trading between a bit more significant areas of interest. We have here a small liquidity area and here a bigger one, which was the origin of this last move to the downside. And we got this initial impulsive break of this level, and now we are forming a bit more complex price action. So I'm still looking for a medium-term long into these areas here, but looking just plainly at this price action, I'm also a bit neutral. So price can also just break back below here and then going down, tapping the low one more time before we then see a bigger, maybe expanding structure or something like that. But yeah, we will see. That will take some time. So right now I'm a bit neutral to bullish for the dollar. Looking on the other dollar related pairs, I'm starting here with Euro US dollar. On the daily time frame, we can see we have a very similar picture. Of course, we had here analog the DXY, a bit more corrective price action, and then we got some reaction here on the lower time frame. We can see we have here this liquidity area, which was the 1, 2, 3, which was the start of the last impulsive move before we go into this more corrective price action. And we do know that this corrective price action, if they drop to the downside, then we see more flat structures. So right now I'm still looking for something like that, which is possible. So I'm looking in here on the lower time frame for short continuations. I'm going down here. Let me clean that up. Going down here to the 1 hour. We can see we had this volatility spikes here from the news, and we have, it looks a bit like we have a form of an expanding structure, the start of an expanding structure, and I'm now looking here on the lower time frame for a continuation to the downside for the second, or basically the third touch here on the lows. And we can see here this looks a bit more like a bearish continuation structure in the making. Of course, this last candle is not really relevant on Friday evening close, but if we get something like that during Asia session, a well-defined 15 minutes structure here, at least during Asia, or then trading below here for the second continuation into London session, then yeah, I'm more than happy to take a short in this area, because this is more than enough room to manage the trade, even if it's just to these lows here. Australian dollar, US dollar on the 4-hour time frame, we can see we discussed that also multiple times, and we are also a bit neutral here because we have a clear, nice expanding bullish structure. We tap this liquidity area here, analog what we discussed before, 1, 2, 3. We had 3 touches here, a very nice impulsive reaction here back into structure, but then we failed to continue for a long in this area. We also tapped this liquidity area, which was in the middle, the 1, 2, 3 on the downtrend on the last leg of this 3-touch structure. And going down to the 1-hour time frame, we can see we tapped into this area quite nicely and have now a very bearish reaction. We still have to take care of this liquidity area here. So as long as we are above this area, we are looking for longs. And as soon as we trade below this area, we would look for shorts. So if we get something like that, that would be very deliberate price action for a long. And on the other side, if we see price just breaks back below here again, followed by a lower time frame bearish continuation, we would then entertain a short in this area. Pound US dollar on the 4-hour time frame, or better on the daily time frame, actually we can see we have quite nice structure. We had this liquidity area here, that's almost a value area. We had this nice expanding 1, 2, 3, and the third touch, as you will, is another structure within structure, a 1, 2, 3 into this high, and then we had very nice bearish reaction in this area. On the 4-hour time frame, we actually are on the first target area, and we see here some reaction. So again, a bit neutral. This structure looks a bit more bearish, but in terms of how it's positioned, it could go either way. So I want to be a bit more patient, and I'm looking for price to form a proper second base, come back up one more time, and we see something like that, a bigger continuation structure in this area here. Going back to the daily time frame, we can see that would be in proportions for the next leg to the downside, at least to the start of the structure here. US dollar yen on the daily time frame, we have this level here. That's a liquidity area. We have a small gap here to fill, but this is a bearish structure. We also have a gap to the lows, and we had a 1, 2, 3, or we have a 1, 2, 3 in the making with another internal structure here. We had first a very nice initial bearish reaction in this area, but then we failed to continue. You can see here we have a small liquidity area here. It's better visible on the 1 hour time frame. So the origin of the last leg into the first override area here, and then we came back down. This is just news volatility week. And then we failed actually, yeah, you can see here we failed to break below this area, and we failed to continue. So instead we had a very nice bullish reaction here, and this was actually a 1 hour structure, a 1 hour entry here on Friday. You can see here we had a very nice bullish continuation structure, and now we are a bit in between. It's a bit neutral territory, and so if we get here a lower time frame clear continuation structure, then I would entertain a long in this area, because it would be enough room to even just manage it to the high of the structure. And on the other hand, if we see a bit price takes a bit more time and is just starting to form a nice third touch basically, then we get a bigger bull flag continuation. That would definitely be enough volume situated in this area to drive price quite a lot higher from here. Euro Australian dollar on the 4 hour time frame, we discussed that as well a few weeks ago. We tapped the high, we came back in, we had the first here continuation, then we failed here to continue to the downside. Instead, we creep back up into, there's a small liquidity area on the lower time frame visible. You can see here that's basically in the middle of the structure. We see that sometimes after a break of a structure, a small liquidity point here. We retested that, then we failed here to continue to the upside. Instead, we broke below this price action piece here, and then we have here again on the lower time frame. I was looking here last week for a continuation in this area. We did not get that. Price continued correctively to form a more complex structure. So I'm looking now for a short continuation. How we are positioned, it's not ideal. The positioning is okay, but this corrective, non-progressive price action is not ideal. However, if we get a deliberate 1, 2, 3 structure into this small liquidity area, closing the gap, I would definitely entertain a short in this area. Euro Canadian dollar on the 4 hour time frame, you know the structure. We were trading between these two levels here for quite some time, and we have it on watch for a while now. We discussed last week, we have here two areas which are of interest for price to finish this bigger bullish structure. We got a very nice 4 hour bull flag continuation, but we failed to continue in this area. We get a bullish reaction first, but then we started to form another smaller structure on the low. So this makes the whole picture neutral in this area. So you can see here we had a 1, 2, 3 drives into the low, and here that's a bit more messy volume accumulation. However, we broke to the upside, and we are now forming here a potential continuation structure. So if we get something like that, a 1 hour structure in this area after a correction into a correction, but that's more a bearish continuation into a bullish continuation, that would be very deliberate price action. Did you ever take a short after such a nice bullish reactive price action? Probably not. So if we get something like that, we can definitely entertain a long in this area. Euro New Zealand dollar on the 4 hour time frame. We have also quite nice structure in this area. We had this liquidity area here. We left the gap. We tapped the low in form of a 1, 2, 3. Again, a 1, 2, 3 with a nice middle section. We had a bit of reaction here. We tested the high. We have washout candles here on the 4-hour time frame, and then we gained quite nice initial momentum. We did not even reach the first initial target yet. So going down to the 1-hour time frame, we left a small area of interest here, this small liquidity area outside of structure, and that's what I'm looking for price to retest, either in form of a bit more aggressive retrace followed by a lower time frame continuation. That's something I would entertain, but preferably we see something like that. Price takes a bit more time, leaving a gap, and then a second base for a proper continuation for a short enter in this area here. Euro yen on the daily time frame, we are still in fairly aggressive upwards momentum. We discussed this bullish momentum run for quite some time. This is the last, really the last area of interest before the high. That was the first initial. You can see that here on the 4-hour time frame a bit clearer. Let's go here. This is really the last, or basically the first liquidity area after the initial drop from the high. So that's an area of interest we have to take care right now. And going down or going back to where price is right now, we can see we had a reaction before we tapped the high. And these are like, it's a bit a premature sell-off, which did not last long. It looked here as we might form a bearish continuation. Instead, we broke back up and we are now slowly creeping back up. And if I'm looking at the lower time frame here on the 1-hour time frame, we do form here some form of a bullish continuation after this failed bearish structure here. And if we look at this leg here, that's the impulsive move into this liquidity area, and then just try to replicate the leg. Basically, you can see it will line up. It lines up more or less perfect. So, and that would then also mean it breaks the bigger area of interest to the left. So if we get something like that and we see a reaction here, I'm definitely looking for shorts after we break the high. I'm not really, I don't want to entertain long trades now in this area here, even though we are still in this very nice momentum run. It might be possible, but right now I'm leaning more to just wait. Other pairs are better positioned right now, so I want to see a bit more development in this area here. Australian dollar, Canadian on the daily time frame, we had we finished this 1, 2, 3 structure here on the daily into the first area of interest. We still have this liquidity area here. We left a small gap, so we definitely did not reach that area, and we are still now in a bearish run. On the 4-hour time frame, we can see we did not reach the first initial target yet. We turned around here, but this is a nice V-shaped recovery into the previous low here on the 1-hour time frame. We can see that was fairly aggressive. We basically closed the gap here, which we left to the previous low, and we now have here a V-shaped recovery play, and I'm looking for a short continuation for the last leg to at least close the gap here to this first target area after the initial bearish run. So here on the 15-minute time frame, we can see the last candle is not relevant. That will look on every broker a bit different. But if we get a bit more deliberate price action in this area here, visible on the 1-hour time frame, then yeah, that's definitely something to entertain positioning and sequence-wise. On the last pair is pound yen on the 4-hour time frame. We tapped the more significant areas of interest to the left. We have this more recent high, and we tapped into the high in form of an expanding 1, 2, 3 structure. And we have here very nice bearish reaction at the high. However, we don't have a big reaction yet. It was Friday evening, but positioning and sequence-wise, we are looking for shorts right now. We had, you see here on the 1-hour time frame, this overall price action has no momentum. It's not very progressive. So I would like to see one more move to the downside, leaving all this price action behind, and then followed by a continuation here on the lower time frame. I'm more than happy to entertain a short in this area. But with this non-progressive price action and expanding structures, they can as easily just form a bigger continuation in this area. That would also make sense as long as we are still there's still room to the upside. So we have to look for very deliberate price action. But if we see a bigger momentum push to the downside followed by lower time frame continuation, the risk is immediately smaller for a short to play out. So yeah, that's it. That's my watch list for next week. Thanks for watching. See you next week. Bye bye.